Hey there, welcome to the show. Let's start this Sunday with questions this weekend over Canada's vaccine rollout, threats that our supply could be cut off in some way. We already know, of course, of the manufacturing issues with the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, as well as some concerns over the Moderna shots. They have forced health officials across the country to redraw plans to account for those, what the government says are temporary shortfalls. There are concerns now, though, after the European Union imposed strict export controls on vaccines manufactured there. The move means that EU states now have the power to block the export of vaccines in an effort to keep more doses for its citizens. So why does that matter for Canadians? Well, the two vaccines that have been approved for use here in this country, Pfizer and Moderna, are both manufactured in Europe. So how will these new measures affect Canadians, if at all? The Minister of International Trade spoke with the EU yesterday, and now Mary Eng joins me this Sunday morning from Toronto. Minister, hello, nice to see you.
Hi there, Rosie. Really good to see you, and good morning to Canadians.
That's very nice. I appreciate you making the time early on a Sunday morning. So tell me what assurances you received yesterday on this phone call.
Well, Rosie, I want all Canadians who are watching you today to know that we are on top of this and how urgent this is for me, for our government. At the moment that we learned of a proposed mechanism, I reached out to my EU counterpart, the Trade Commissioner, who is Executive Vice President Dombrovskis. You heard the Prime Minister do that as well last week with President von der Leyen, and I spoke to my EU counterpart yesterday and was reassured that that the mechanism that they have in place would not affect Canada's shipments of vaccines.
Okay, it's very complicated what's happening over there, and I am trying to wrap my head around it, and I'm sure many Canadians are too. If that's the case, if we're not going to be affected, why did they not just issue an exemption for us?
Well, you'll see that while many countries have been exempted, there are many of our other international partners, like Australia or the United Kingdom or the United States, that have also not been on the exemption list. And in my conversation with Commissioner Dombrovskis, I was really clear that Canada's expectation is that our purchase contracts with the vaccine makers are not disrupted. I would note that in their regulation, there is absolutely consideration for advanced purchase agreements that have been made, like that of Canada with the vaccine makers, and our expectation is that there is no disruption or delay. And as I said in my conversation with Executive Vice President, I was given assurances that Canada's vaccines should not be affected.
So these are, as you said, it was for pre-purchase agreements. Of course, we're waiting on AstraZeneca to be approved, and we have a purchase agreement with them as well. Would it apply then to all manufacturers, and would we have that same sort of protection for each company?
Well, in my conversations with the Executive Vice President, I reiterated how important it was for Canada to not see any disruptions in the vaccine orders that we have placed. And as I said earlier, their regulation absolutely has consideration for advanced purchase agreements and contracts negotiated by third countries like Canada. Yeah. And like I said, the reassurance also came last week from President von der Leyen to Prime Minister Trudeau as well.
Are any of your colleagues, Minister Garneau, for instance, reaching out to any of his counterparts in Europe, to Germany, to France, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page here?
Yes, in fact, we are absolutely taking a whole of government approach, which we do with respect to this global pandemic. I mean, COVID-19 is a crisis that we have been absolutely seized with, so it is absolutely our top priority. So yes, Minister Garneau has already spoken to some of his counterparts and continues that work, as will Minister Hajdu. Minister Anand, of course, is in constant contact with the suppliers, and I have been speaking to my international counterparts. I just had a meeting with World Trade Organization ministers on Friday. I've spoken directly to the United Kingdom and to Australia just this last week, and the leadership that Canada has been taking through the Ottawa Group of just making sure that supply chains and trade restrictions don't take place during COVID-19, so that essential goods like food and medicine continue to flow is absolutely critical during this time.
What do you think is going on here, Minister? Is this about domestic politics in the EU? Is it about the EU trying to put pressure on the companies themselves to be more transparent about what they're producing and where it's going?
Well, I think that the European Union, like all countries around the world, are have as their priority to make sure that they're keeping their citizens safe and that citizens get access to vaccine. But COVID-19 has no borders. In my conversations with Vice President Dombrowski, we agreed that we would continue to support, a facility like the COVAX facility because COVID-19 has no borders. Vaccination of the world is necessary because Canada continues to be at risk unless others get vaccinated as well.
But is it frustrating to see already what seem to be signs of quote unquote vaccine nationalism from someone with whom we have a trade agreement and who we have a good relationship with?
I think we need to be steadfast at this work, and you'll see that from myself and from my colleagues and from the Prime Minister. And we're going to keep working on this just as we have throughout COVID-19. I think that making sure that Canada's vaccine supply is not affected is top priority. And we're going to keep working on it. And indeed, I've got to work with all my trade ministers around the world and the EU to make sure that our vaccine supplies and Canadians, will get vaccinated.
Are you confident then that this is not going to be an issue going forward?
Well, I take this very seriously, and I'm going to keep pressing, and I'm going to keep working hard. I want Canadians to be assured that Canada continues to be on schedule. Every Canadian that wants a vaccine will get it for free by September of this year. So we are on track with that respect, but we take nothing for granted. We must continue to work diligently as we have, myself and my colleagues, and we're going to continue to do that on behalf of Canadians. It is absolutely top priority.
Okay, Minister, thank you. There were a lot of developments over the weekend, so I do appreciate you coming on this morning and telling us about them. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Rosie.
Okay, that's Trade Minister Mary Eng this morning in Toronto.